How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Refined Roundtable. Brandon Bernstead coming to you live, as always, from my wife's home office, joined, as always, by Abby Lushai and Britt Thorson, who's going to be leaving us soon because she has to get an oil change.
That's a day in the life. It's the highlight of my day. Leaving the house for an oil change.
Well, but
leave the house.
Before we go, we obviously have some pop culture things to discuss. Because the news is never ending. We've got some upbeat stuff, some downbeat stuff. We're just going to take you through the range of emotions today. I want to start with something that was quite exciting to the team. It was also the most relatable thing I think I've seen on the internet. Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird working with their hairstylist to do some quarantine cuts at home, some haircuts.
So this was an Instagram live that they did. First of all, Megan and Sue are like Seattle's power couple and some of the most fantastic athletes that you've ever heard of. And we're so proud to call them local.
Yes.
And not only that, but Megan Rapinoe's haircut specifically is like iconic. I mean, after the last, after she kind of got as big as she did, you saw people getting that platinum and then getting the pink. It's like the haircut and the hair color heard around the world. So put that off to the side. Know that like whose hair you're dealing with. Usually she has this wonderful stylist, Rihanna Capri, who like is this hairstylist to the stars. Usually she has that person doing it, but we're in quarantine and we can't have professionals do it anymore, even if you're a celebrity, unless your partner is a celebrity, which in this case, Sue Bird is also a celebrity. So Megan and Sue did an Instagram live from their living room with essentially Rihanna trying to talk Sue through cutting Megan's hair. And it was one of the funniest like hour and a half lives. I mean, it is so good. You see Rihanna, the hairstylist, is like up in the screen and she's like, okay, so just trim it like this. And Sue's like, what? Megan's freaking out because her hairstylist is as big as her hair. She knows her hair is a big deal. Anyways, you guys, I'm blabbing, but it's worth it. It's on all of their channels. And
so good though. Like she actually did really good.
That was my question. Was the haircut good?
Yes, it was really good. And like I was very scared for her because like she's just like, oh gosh, like what is happening? And then Sue was scared and like everyone was nervous, but it actually looked really, really good. And it's honestly it's an hour and a half long, but it flies by. Like you can watch it. It's so riveting.
They're all drinking. They're all drinking during it, of course, which would make me a little nervous. And this isn't like, the short haircut. I would think that it would be easier with longer hair because you really just have to trim or whatever. The short, Sue had shears. She had clippers. There were multiple heads on the shears. Like Rihanna was like, pull out the 4-blade, pull out the 3-blade. Okay, now time to do the 2. She was telling her how to get around the ear. Yeah. Like it was
wild things.
I need her to help. I mean, I love my barber, but the fact that I cannot go, my hair is as long as it has been in 10 years. And it is it is like the one thing that I miss about being in quarantine is just not being able to get a haircut. Haircuts are like one of my favorite things, but I also don't know that I would trust my barber to talk my wife through giving me a haircut.
Yeah. Well, if they mess up the haircut, then that's just like, it's like, I don't want to mess up my significant other's haircut because then they're going to get mad at me and it's my fault. But like, what was I supposed to do? I'm not professional.
Yeah.
And Brandon, your hairstyle is almost as iconic as Megan Rapinoe's.
Yes.
So
it
would be
is in the pantheon. It's really neck and neck here.
Equal levels.
The woman who won the World Cup and a bunch of gold medals and everything, and then me. That's
right.
A and B. No,
So that's basically all I want to talk about this week. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and give a little mic drop and go off to service my old Hyundai. And
nice.
I will see you guys next week.
All right.
Bye, Brett.
Bye.
Bye.
It's a 2-person show the rest of the way, Abby. How
Now it's
exciting
time
was it?
table
Because
for two.
table for two, we're back. I do want to say though that Megan and Sue and their hairstylist gave Seattle Refined a little bit of love on, I believe, the gram, and that
Yeah.
was very exciting.
Yeah, so Britt actually, she reposted their video onto our Instagram story, and basically was just like, this is incredible, everyone needs to watch this. And then Rihanna, I think that's how her name is pronounced, I always forget, she reposted it onto her Instagram story, which is like huge because Britt and I are both, you know, we love all these people, and it's just like cute. She's the stylist of the stars. Like, it was just really cool of her. She seems like a really like just dope person. So Britt and I were both like low-key fangirling very hard last night. So that was really cool of them.
And if you're interested in learning a little more, we did, I believe it was a couple years ago now, which it seems time's been flying by clearly, but sit down with Megan and Sue, and the interview touches on some things obviously that have passed, but it's still really interesting to get a little insight into who they are. So you can search that on seattlerefined.com, and they're just the best. So we're
absolute just icons, truly.
all right. I want to bring it down just a little bit because unfortunately we lost we lost a couple of big names this past weekend. Fred Willard, which is terribly sad, one of the funniest guys ever, but also Lynn Shelton, who is a filmmaker, director from right here in Seattle, a fixture at SIF. And I think this one really hit me a little bit differently than I thought. One, because it was so unexpected. And two, because we actually got the chance to interview Lynn. It was Candace, our movie critic and reporter for the website, but I was there producing the segment and put together the TV segment. Got a chance to chat with Lynn and Mark Maron when they were in town promoting Sort of Trust. And my interaction with her was super brief, but I have to tell you, she was one of the sweetest and nicest people. Press tours can be insane. You know, you're just sitting down in front of cameras all the time, and you really don't like, nobody would feel I wouldn't begrudge anybody if they were a little short or a little just trying to get it done. And she was the sweetest and such an incredible talent. And Abby, I know you were saying she's been involved in so many shows and directed episodes and things like that that you really don't understand the breadth of her work because it is so vast.
Yeah, no, I definitely, over the weekend, like when, you know, the news broke and everything, I follow, you know, like we love pop culture, obviously. I follow so many, like every time I get into a show or a movie, I follow pretty much like the whole main cast. Like, it's just like my whole Instagram feed is pretty much like actors and actresses. And so many of the shows that like I've watched even just recently, like New Girl, like I rewatched that, Little Fires Everywhere, she worked on those. And just seeing like Reese Witherspoon and Jake Johnson and Zoe Deschanel, like all these people, like just like just heartbreaking like tributes to her. It was just like, it really hit like a little different because sometimes you don't really realize how much a director works on different projects because they may, you know, it may not just be as well known. So it was kind of like the more the news spread, the more I realized she worked on so many things that I love. And it just kind of, I was just like, it's just a tragedy.
And I think it's so tragic in part because she was clearly so creative and so talented. It felt like she was really hitting that point in her career where the next thing and the next thing and the next thing that she was going to continue to come up with was only going to get better, and people were going to continue to know her name more and more. And it felt like the opportunities that she was going to get going forward were going to make her even more of a household name. And clearly was one of those people that just by the outpouring of love that we saw when she passed was somebody who touched a lot of folks. And so it's a loss for the entertainment community, and particularly for folks here in Seattle, where she was such a fixture in the film scene. So sending our love to her loved ones, along with a whole slew of other people who have done it already. All right, let's bring it back up. You just take me through this, Abby, because you were the one who brought this up. This is Kate Beckinsale
Look at that
grooming her cat. Just talk me through what happened here.
Okay, so basically I listen to this podcast every week called Who Weekly. It's a celebrity podcast, and they just kind of talk about like the crazy things that are going on and so much more. And they're the ones that introduced me to this. Kate Beckinsale basically has been like her cats have been the star of like several or a few Instagram videos she's done. This one right here, she's sitting on her, I think, kitchen counter giving them haircuts. And as you can see from the picture on the right, there's like a few frames where the cat just stares at the camera like that as she talks and like cuts its hair. And like you just, if you haven't seen it, I would just say go watch it, because it's just like, number one, why is this cat just sitting and taking this so patiently? Like, it's not moving at all. It's not trying to get away. It's just sitting there. And it's just, everyone's talking about, they're like, her patient yet grumpy looking cats. Like, that's what they're being like deemed as. And it's just, I mean, if you just look at their faces, like you just, it's.
That cat is pissed. That cat's mad.
But why? Yes, you would think that, but when you watch the video, it's like, if I tried to do this with my cat, I know I would see him there's absolutely no way he would sit there for that. But this cat is just sitting there. I don't know if there's some sort of leash underneath there, but the cat just won't get up. So it's like, are you really mad? Like, are you happy? I don't know, but it's wild.
I don't know. As somebody who, Samantha and I have a cat who is the OG pet in our family. Let's see if, there's Miss Bear here. I'll pull her up and show you because I'm a proud parent. But she runs the show around the house. Like she will not put up with stuff that she doesn't enjoy, right? She just kind of like, she goes where she wants to go. She messes with our dogs. Like she is the alpha pet in our home. And we have a tough enough time just brushing her because she's got a lot of hair. Miss Bear's got a lot of hair. I cannot imagine sitting down for a haircut. Now, granted, luckily she doesn't need it, but cats are not animals that are open to a lot of grooming.
Yeah, no. But the way the cat just in that video, and she's just sitting there talking while she's cutting its hair, and the cat just will sit there like this, and then we'll just look at the camera and just look at the camera. And I'm like, are we in an episode of The Office right now? Like, I don't know what's going on, but it's just hilarious. Those cats are icons, truly.
Shout out to Kate Beckinsale's cat, who is the hero of this week for being such a trooper during haircutting.
We need to give a hero of Instagram, a hero of quarantine Instagram every week, because every week new ones come up. That cat is this week's hero of quarantine. Dude,
new segment alert. Hero of quarantine.
We seem to have a new one every week.
Yeah, so last week it was John Krasinski, and this week it's Kate Beckinsale's cat. So
pretty much.
Congratulations to two absolute stars for winning that award. All right, Abby, before we go, any recommendations for the people?
Yes. I watched 2 movies this weekend on Netflix.
Movies?
I did. I switched it. I was like, I haven't watched a movie in a while. I need to watch them. So I watched, and they're just, the range here is astounding. I watched The Wrong Missy. It's with David Spade. It's a new Netflix one. It's super raunchy. It's super David Spade-esque. Like, I don't know. It's funny. I'll probably never watch it again, but I'm not mad that I watched it. But it was nice to see him in another film, because I haven't seen a film of his in a long time. But it's really funny. So if you want a funny movie, and then I also watched the half of it, which is it's more slow. It's more of like a teen romance kind of.
So right up your alley.
Yeah, but it's not like a typical like the ending. I can't really explain it, but the ending, it's like, it's not really a love story, but it is. I don't know. You just have to watch it. But the cool thing is that it takes place in a fictional city in Washington. So
nice. We love that.
Yeah. So we have like a little local tie, but it's really good. A lot of critics have been, writing about it. It's got some like LGBTQ stuff in there, so it's kind of a cool, just unique take on a love story, I guess.
Well, that does sound interesting. We certainly like the fact that it's set in Washington. That makes things better. Though I would like to say, an aside, I need more shows and movies that are set in Washington to actually be filmed here. And I know that they're filmed in Vancouver because of the tax credits and all that. Like, I just need to see a movie that's set in Seattle where it actually looks like Seattle. So,
I know, it's wild. There's so many shows and movies that are like based in Seattle, and I'm like, I can't tell. I'm like, this doesn't look like Seattle.
There was an AMC show called The Killing back in the day that was like a murder mystery set in Seattle. It was clearly not Seattle, and it rained straight up the entire time. And I just need some people to give me a real Seattle experience, because you know what? Seattle's a good place to set something. We've got all four seasons. We got all the stuff going on. We got a beautiful city. I don't need to see Vancouver or a bunch of nondescript buildings. So that's my tangent.
Seattle skyline, and then like just nothing else. It's like, oh, you go over the sound and the highways, and then that's it. But no, we need some real Seattle representation in here.
Yeah, and like I know how fired up everybody gets when Grey's Anatomy comes and films for 2 or 3 days, and they actually are in Ballard or at Pike Place Market or over by the waterfront. And by the way, the scenes just look better, because if you've ever been to Seattle, you're like, they are there.
Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy's got it down. I need some movies to get it down.
Do you have a recommendation for us this week?
I do have a recommendation. I would say, first off, the Survivor finale was amazing. If you did not watch Winners at War, it was a phenomenal season. The end of The Bachelor Presents Listen to Your Heart was one of the biggest downers of all time. It was 2 hours of wasted TV from a Bachelor fan. We'll talk offline, Abby, about that.
I know. I'm such a moody fan. I'm so mad.
Yes. Spoiler alert. Matt and Rudy didn't make it to the final performances, and they were by far the best singers on the show.
Oh my gosh, anyways.
My recommendation, sticking with the movie theme, is I'm still in this kind of escapism content mode. And also, like, I feel like a lot of people where I wish I could go on a vacation to somewhere tropical. And so I'm picking an oldie but a goodie that I think is worth revisiting. Forgetting Sarah Marshall stands up. I have to be honest that this film has a special place in my heart. It came out during college, and I literally went with my buddies. We saw it in the theater, laughed so hard that we went back the same day and watched it again. That was the things that like you could do in college. It was just we didn't have a lot going on.
No.
But I think that it remains funny. It remains relevant. It's set in a tropical location at a resort. So even if we're here in the clouds in the 60 degrees, you can kind of take yourself there and feel like you're in Hawaii for a couple hours.
That cast is stacked.
That's the other thing you don't realize is you go back and watch it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, Paul Rudd's in it. Jonah Hill's in it. Bill Hader is in this thing. Yeah. Obviously, Mila Kunis and Jason Segel and Russell Brand and Kristen Bell. So it is just all the funny people at a resort doing funny things. So if you're looking for an oldie but a goodie, that's my pick.
That's a solid recommendation.
Thank you. And with that, this table for two, since Britt decided to leave us to get her car worked on, is done. And we will be back next week, where undoubtedly some other things will happen that we'll just need to talk about.
Yes, absolutely. See you then, guys.
Bye.